yeah.
Episode starts now. Clarke, he's back. Freaking episode 2 was so good. We brought him back for more.
Yeah.
So, hey, Christian, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
Compared to last week.
Last week was on fire.
Yeah, last week was great.
There's a lot to live up to, but
yeah, honestly, there's a lot of pressure now. We got to perform.
Right.
Last week was great. So we're back. Welcome. If you're new to the podcast, what's up? My name is Pastor Elijah. This is Mr. Christian Clarke. He was our special guest last week, and last week was so amazing. We decided to bring him back for week 2. So we are 3 weeks deep into Pastor's series.
Correct.
It's a series he started at the beginning of June called All Things New, and it has honestly been probably one of my favorite series that Dad has done in a while.
For sure.
Like yesterday.
But I mean, he came back from vacay all ready up, and
That's true.
Here he is. So
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. But
No, he's been killing it. But yesterday's message was on point. I got no words. Like, I think I've taken more notes in this series than I ever have
for sure.
all my career, whatever. But you know what it is. So this is basically just we come around, we sit, we talk about the word and Dad's message, Pastor Dad's message. For those of us that either can't be there on Sundays or like just want to check in and say what's up. If we got anybody watching like internationally or like across the country, like drop your addy, bro. Tell us what state you're watching from.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we just want to make an opportunity for you guys to get some more Jesus in your life.
For sure.
Like we've been talking about all month long in youth and Maine about investing in the relationship. And this is a good little outlet for that, I think. You know, getting more into it on a teenage level, as you would say. You just got a job.
Yeah, I did.
Finally. You update the people.
Well, okay, so week 1, about that time frame, I went in for an interview. They was like, okay, cool. Yeah, you got the job. And then 2 weeks later, still haven't heard back from them. All while I had texted them twice. And then after I texted them, I even went up to the store and went to go talk to the manager. And the manager that I had talked to originally whenever I was interviewing, he was not there. And so the guy was there, was like, oh, I'll talk to the guy. No big deal. No problem. We'll get it taken care of. And I didn't hear back from him. And I was like, what is happening? So I went back a second time and he was like, oh, that's right. And so we went and talked to him. And the next day I got a call back and was like, hey, we're ready for you to come in for orientation. I went and did that yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Sunday, baby. And now here we are getting all scheduled up, trained up, and it's going good.
So you got like what? How many hours is your training tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I have 9 hours of training.
9 hours. And where are you working?
Canes, baby. Raising Canes.
Dog. Hey, yeah, if you're in the... Which Canes? So we can go...
The one on Lynn Lane.
The one on Lynn Lane.
71st and Lynn Lane.
Pulling up chicken... What's the new one? Bippity Boppity.
Bippity Boppity Boo, what can Canes get you?
That is gold, bro. You know, they pull up to the window. I'm like, chicken, chicken, chicken. What chicken you picking? And you're like...
What?
But no, that's lit. I'm happy that you finally got the job because I know that's like the worst process ever.
And my mom's been bugging me the whole time, so.
Hey, as moms do, shout out to mom. My mom's the same way. I remember getting my first job at Hideaway, and it was the same thing. Like, you know, although Hideaway isn't exactly the most world-renowned place on the planet, I applied and like had my interview, and they were like, "Yeah, you'll start sometime, I'm sure." And you're like, "All right, now what?" And yeah, but that's sick. First job, we're gonna be making that fat money. Week 3 of a series, week 3 of an internship, all kinds of stuff going on. We updated the setup a little bit more sleek.
Fresh and clean.
Name our dinosaurs. We got a Triceratops and an Allosaurus. Name them.
Man, there's a whole dinosaur kid right here.
I like dinosaurs a lot. So yeah, in the comments, pause the video, name the dinosaurs. We'll vote on the best ones, and if you get picked, we'll let you know next week because they need names. You know, they close out our videos, and they're super cute, and I love them a lot. So yesterday, Dad talked a lot about the battlefield of the mind, and it was tight. It's one of those things that like a lot of pastors have talked about. I've heard a message about, you know, taking every thought captive and that kind of stuff, which is like valid, but it's been done a lot. But I think what Pastor said yesterday really kind of broke new ground on like the topic for me, and the first phrase he said, or like when I was taking notes, was the mind is a terrible thing to waste. And what he was talking about was just like, you know, we have so much power in like what we allow to affect us and what we allow to affect other people, and then like what comes into our life, what doesn't come into our life, what we give power to, what we focus on, and whatever. And he was basically talking about how it would be really dumb of us to take one of our greatest tools and, you know, waste its utility, if that makes sense.
For sure.
So that phrase, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. What is that like the first thing come to your mind when you hear that?
Well, I was kind of like, you know, like, oh, this is weird. Those cartoons where you're like, you see people coding and on the computer screen, it's just like ones and zeros going all the way across. And that's just what I think about, because it's like something that's like powerful and cool, and it's just scrolling past, and it's like, ooh, spooky.
That's called binary code.
Yep.
And that's the language that computers talk to each other. But you're saying just like your brain is almost like downloading like all this information.
Like there's just so much going on. It's like there's a lot, and it's always, like you said, always happening. And then it's just like, just one by one, keep going, and it's just powerful because it's like it's always there. It's always learning.
So I was in a meeting with Pastor today, as we normally do on Mondays, and we were talking about something. I forget what it was, but I brought up the example of like, let's say you're a freaking carpenter back in like the
Jesus
stone.
times?
Sure, why not? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. When hammers were like a new concept, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you get your first hammer, and it's like made of wood or something, and you're like, I love this hammer. I'm gonna make all my things,
gadgets,
my inventions out of this hammer. And like, you know, you're bonking things and stuff, and using this hammer. Years go by, you keep using it, and then, you know, one day you throw it in your shed when you're done using it or something, and like it gets older, the wood maybe getting a little warped and like beat up, and like it kind of starts falling apart, but you're still using it because it's the same hammer. And then I gave the example of you use that hammer all the time. It's still an effective tool, but it's not as effective as it possibly could be because tools evolve. Like now they've got hammers made out of stone, and now they got hammers made out of metal. And like, is it still a hammer? Yeah, but is it being used to the full like strength of its effectiveness? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think when he was said that, it clicked in my brain to like, is your mind being used to its full level of effectiveness? And if so, how do you keep it evolving? Because he's right. I think it would be dumb of us to waste such a powerful tool, because like it helps us do a lot.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally runs our whole life, our body.
Seriously.
It's like, come on now.
But when he was talking about that, it really kind of like clicked in my brain again, like I said, with using it effectively. And what is the most effective way to keep our mind sharp, you know? Because obviously you can't, you know, take it out and start.
Yeah,
Get the crank wheel, you know.
Get the upgrades going.
Yeah, the
50
modded
XP.
the modded brain, 60 FPS in my head. But you know, it's an interesting thing, and he brought it into, you know, not just your brain itself, but also your mindset, and that's kind of where he parked most of his message was your mindset is contagious. And he gave an example where he was getting back from vacation. He was in an airport, and he was like kind of in a grumpy mood because their flight got canceled, which sucked, and they were in like a 12-hour layover or
in a
10-hour
small airport, crowded with a lot of people.
Crowded with all these people because everybody's flight was getting canceled,
Right.
and he was in, you know, airports aren't the most fun place to be in the world.
There's nothing to do.
Exactly.
So it's like you're there. Yeah.
So he's like getting upset or whatever, and my mom, you know, looked at him, and he was wearing our Kaya shirts. If you haven't seen our Kaya shirts, they're pretty sick. They got like the cross in the front.
They got butterfly.
The big old butterfly in the back. It says
Yeah.
Kaya. It's supposed to be really like, oh my God. It literally has our church logo on it and stuff. And my mom looked at him and said, you know, remember what shirt you're wearing. Remember who you're representing. And I was like, daggum. Because like our attitude, bro, like our mindset, living life is so like put under a microscope. It seems like, you know, you move around and you wear the Jesus lanyard or the badge.
I said this last week, but it was like Christians are like held to a higher standard because it's like one person does wrong, and it's the whole like Christian section that is like messing up, and like they're not doing good no more, and it's like you have to hold yourself accountable for everybody, and as bad as that might be, like it's still true. So when you're sitting in an airport getting all angry and getting upset and all that, you gotta watch yourself.
Well, so I thought it was cool that even though my dad's mindset at the time probably wasn't the best place, my mom was still looking at that. Like she was looking for it. And that's what like, so he gave the example of the airport thing. And then I started thinking about what we're going to talk about this coming week, because here's your plug for the week. This Wednesday is our final week of Greenhouse. It's week 4. We're talking about loneliness, and it's going to get kind of deep, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a really good service because Greenhouse as a whole has been
be very intimate. It'll
peak.
It'll be hit close to home.
Yeah, no, it's going to hit hard. But like, we're talking about like, isolation. We've talked about it a little bit already this month, and then like just that feeling of loneliness. But I think what's cool about, Christians being held to a different standard, like they're easily like set apart, and good and a bad thing. But my mom was looking for the right mindset. My dad didn't have it at the time. And it made me think of like how Christians can work together, even though they may be set apart. It's up to us to hold each other accountable with our brains, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, earlier today we were talking in our meeting, and we were talking about how we need to be like a church as a whole and as a body in the body of Christ, and how we have to treat everybody as if like we're all part of the same body, which is the body of Christ. And so whenever we're doing things, it affects everybody, like we're saying. So I thought it ties in pretty well.
So I had the example, and you've been in a weight room before at school.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah.
And so I have just started working out again. I know it's kind of ridiculous to think about, because like,
you gotta start somewhere though.
Look at me. But I just started working out again, and like I'm big on like the workout crap. I think it's really interesting to me, like how your muscles work, and like the science behind it, as far as like the things you can take to help it. Obviously, like clean and stuff. But Pastor Christina, sorry, my bad. They have blessed me. If you don't know, I live with Pastor Josh and Pastor Christina. They've opened their home to me because life is crazy. But I've been living with them, and I started working out, and I just bought this massive bag of protein. It looks like a giant bag of dog food. It's huge. But like Christina is looking at me, and she's talking. She's like, "Bro, I don't understand like why." And we like the conversation evolves into like me missing like working out at the gym with like all these dudes just getting absolutely yammed out of your mind.
Something crazy about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was thinking about it on Sunday, and I was like, I miss being in with like the football guys. I didn't play football, but I worked out with all of them because I was a stud.
Okay.
But like, you ever been in those locker rooms where like, one person's like getting ready to max, and everybody's just like, just
you get the slap.
Everybody starts like punching each other in the face and like hyping each other up.
It goes
like,
crazy.
Like cracking their heads on each other and stuff, and headbutting, and like just losing their minds. Like that to me is the perfect example of what I think Christians should rally around.
That's
when
good.
One person is getting ready to put so much stress on themselves or take a step out or do something new.
Yeah.
I think it's up to us to rally around that mindset and just be like, you can do it.
Yeah, that's really good.
Because at one point it's going to be our turn to max out, And that's what we call the Sigma mindset.
Okay.
Yeah. Because also you ever heard like the term like Sigma male?
I've heard alpha male.
So alpha male, then there's Sigma male.
Is that like
Alpha,
actually, Sigma?
This is why I've got my MacBook. Now I can actually Google things for definitions. That way. There's your word of the week, Sigma.
There you go. What was the first week?
First week was Abysmal. Next one was Spirituality. This one is Sigma.
Yeah.
A Sigma male is a slang term used in masculinist subcultures for a popular, successful, but highly independent and self-reliant man. Another term for a Sigma male is a lone wolf.
Ooh. He's just a guy.
He's just an absolute unit. So the Sigma mindset is, I can do it. I'm all I need. Like I'm everything. But I think there's so much like, do you want to be Sigma male? Absolutely. But I think it becomes less about who you are and more of who you've been made to be. Like in the locker room.
It's your purpose, your calling.
Yeah, like God is your coach, and he's saying, you can hit 225 on bench.
For sure.
Easy.
Yeah.
And like, it's less about like, I can do it. It's coach believes I can do it, and everybody around me saying, you got it. Yeah. That gives me the strength to
last week he was talking about purpose. And so like, what if you're the person that has to be hyping everybody up? You're saying, yeah. That's your purpose, right? But what if your purpose is the guy to be like hitting that max? You're like, you got to believe in yourself. You got to do it, because otherwise, no, that's all for nothing. And so you got to hit your purpose. If you're the coach, You gotta be hyping you guys up, telling them, yeah, you can do it. You got it.
I think Christians should be the best spotters in the world.
That's cool.
Because it's gonna get heavy, bro. Sometimes you might not make it, but they're there to sit. They're supporting you. Like, you got it. You think of was it Moses? They were taking over. They were fighting, and he had Aaron and
was it Joshua?
I think so. Holding up his hands, like literally. That's what we're called to do for each other.
They're just sitting there helping him out. Yeah.
Moses being a Sigma male, he's like, I'm doing what God's called me to do, but not without the support of those around him.
That's good. That's really good.
Sigma.
Way to tie it in.
Mindset. There we go. That's your first segue. If you don't lift,
you gotta get on it.
Get in the gym.
It hits different.
It does. It's a very spiritual thing, bro. I love it. It really helps me with all my my junk. Run it back. Picking up with the next note, obviously Dad got on this huge rant about Chick-fil-A, the Lord's chicken.
The numero dos, the spicy chicken sandwich.
Yeah. I personally am not a huge fan of Chick-fil-A.
Really?
It hurts my stomach.
Really?
I think their customer service is next level. Like, nobody beats.
Even the regular, do you get spicy and it hurts your stomach? Or
I think there's something that they cook their chicken in. I know that's it's healthier because it's actual chicken or something, but there's something about it. Maybe my body's just used to garbage Oklahoma food, so
it's just that junk he's dealing with.
Literally, it is. There you go. Talk about Chick-fil-A and how you go and their customer service is immaculate and
they're selfless.
Well, yeah, but they're all about their mindset. They sat down one day and said, "This is what we're gonna be about," and they execute it great. And I don't think they have any kind of problem with, and if they do, they get rid of it really fast, with people coming and not being a part of that attitude,
For sure.
Because you're working out, you're getting ready to work at Cane's, and I'm just going to go out on a limb here. I'm sure not everybody there is going to be doing their job correctly or to the maximum potential. I know you will, obviously, because you're a Sigma male.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A lone wolf type. But even at Hideaway, I knew very fast, Hideaway doesn't have that attitude. It's basically you come in, clock in, leave, done.
I got you.
But Chick-fil-A has pretty much branded themselves around the mindset of we're here to serve others.
Yeah.
And they're big.
It's very customer oriented.
Yeah.
It's not so much food or anything like that. It's I'm going to serve you.
Exactly. And I think, if you want your cheesy parallel, as a church, this is where we're called to be, because we're called to serve others. That's his whole thing. Dad kept talking about how Jesus came, literally set himself aside, everything he knew about being God and whatever, on the curb, and said, I'm going to go down there with the sole purpose to serve other people.
Yeah.
And
he went and sat with the tax collectors and all those prostitutes and nasty people and all those sinners, but the people that were considered super naughty and not very good people to hang around. You don't want to hang around those people because otherwise you look like a bad person then. But he went there and he hung around all those people, even though he was the chosen one. He was the king. And anyway, but he went around and he sat there with them as part of their body.
Well, so I think it was interesting because he brought up the thing they say, you were to say thank you or something, everybody knows they say my pleasure.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. And it makes me wonder if Chick-fil-A was a church, which low-key,
okay,
I feel like they are.
And they're not open on Sundays, so
I know, but I sure they got some kind of underground Chick-fil-A church
right
somewhere. If you're part of the staff, let us know. If you work at Chick-fil-A, is there an underground church? I think that'd be legit. Anyways,
that'd be crazy, honestly.
If they were, I think they would be the number one. I'd want to go because they take such good care of people. And it makes me wonder, because Chick-fil-A is, open to the public because it is a restaurant, everybody can go.
Yes.
If the church has such a hard time accepting everybody and treating everybody equally and being accepting of anybody and being willing to serve anybody, how can Chick-fil-A do that while we're all sitting here, scratching our heads saying oh, you can't, you're not allowed in here, or oh, you're weird, I'm not going to serve you, or all this crap.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it's such a basic segue, but you start talking about Chick-fil-A in church, and obviously my brain goes all these different places.
Yeah. No, that's really good. it gives you something to think about. It's like food for thought.
Wow. Because we're talking about Chick-fil-A. That's amazing. Well, so he also brought up the example that, Chick-fil-A workers are paid to work there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like their job,
Uh-huh.
right? So let me tell you a story. And this is not me being like, how dare they? It was just somebody I knew. We were like volunteered together for a little bit, and we're doing all this work, whatever, for a project we're working on. And something that said, we got to the very end, and like it didn't really turn out the way we had expected it to, just because like a planning or like vision or whatever it was. We got to the end of it, and it was kind of like, meh. But something they said was, I would have done better had I been paid for my time. And that to me was the first, like, I was like, wait a second. Because that attitude, I don't think has any place in like a church environment.
No.
Because if we're all called to be like in the locker room setting, all like sweating it out, all getting it together, like your motivation isn't what am I getting out of this? It's how can I help someone else achieve what it is they're doing?
Right.
And that to me was that was the attitude like tie-in for me, was like, we just talked about Chick-fil-A for like 30,000 hours, but like Chick-fil-A is tight, but like they're getting paid to be there. They have an attitude presented to them as a job. We have an attitude presented to us as a lifestyle choice, because nobody's paying you to live your life. And if they are,
good for you.
Yeah, that's
what's
epic.
happening.
Fantastic. Yeah. But like, we're called to be each other's hype man and stuff, regardless of what it is we're getting. Because what happens is if you get an environment where everybody's doing the right thing and being really supportive and whatever, and beating each other in the head and saying like, you got it, eventually it's going to be your turn to be the guy in the chair,
For sure. And how would you want them to treat you? Like, you want them to be there for you. You want them to have your back.
Can you imagine if, like, because here's like the big, like, you want to talk about big Jesus Christianese or whatever. If God and Jesus had come down to earth or whatever and like died for our sins like he did, and he looked at us and said, I would have done better had I gotten paid for being here.
You'd be like, what kind of guy is this?
That
like,
negates the sacrifice.
Yeah, right.
Because God's attitude, Jesus' attitude was all focused on other people.
It was a Christ mindset.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where we get it from. Pastor was talking about Chick-fil-A, and he was like, they have a Christ-like mindset, and that puts others before themselves. So they're going to serve others before themselves.
No, see,
I thought that was really good.
That's super good. And like, it's just, it was strange to me because we had that interaction. I was sitting there, I was like, obviously, if you're on staff at a church or something, it's your job, but also it's more than that.
Yeah, but I think of it like getting paid at a church. I think of it differently. I think of getting paid at a church, something that God has called you to, but a lot of people can't do that like full time because they have expenses. They have to have food. They have to have some place to live. So that's just, to me, God taking care of them while they're pursuing their calling. And so whenever I think of somebody else going into some other missions field, it's like God's taking care of them, whether it's like by donations or whatever. But a lot of times, I don't know if anybody's been told this before, but me and Christopher, we were talking about this, and we're talking about how the body of Christ or the church as a whole is kind of like a tree, right? And so wherever, and like in these branches, you have like this big trunk, and it's all like that's like the biggest, like the strong point, and that's the Bible, and it's all rooted into God's word and all of that, right? And so then you have the branches that go out, and it covers the land around it. Well, we need to be a part of those branches and a part of those leaves, that canopy above that kind of covers the rest of the world and kind of goes out into all these different places in order to share the word of God. And so whenever they do that, to me, them getting paid to do their job and going out into their different fields is just God taking care of them and being like, hey, I got you. Here's this. Now go take care of me. And being like putting that out there. But yeah.
No, that's sick. Because I think, because I'm thinking about it, and what you said about like your calling and stuff is totally right. Like what you said a while ago, I think it was like last week when you were here, you were talking about how God doesn't qualify the called, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
If you're seeking, your Christ walk or your church walk or whatever, because obviously there's a big wave going on right now that like, you know, I don't need church, you know, like, church. And to some extent, yeah, because obviously, you know, usually you think of churches and it's, you know, brick and mortar and a building and whatever.
The steeple with pews and
like
stained glass windows. And
that makes sense. But I think church should be more about the community you have. And I think
it's a relationship.
There's something to say about, you know, making that your job. Like, because you're right. You need things to survive. You need this, that, and the other. And if your mindset is completely set on other people, and you're right, you're pursuing what God has truly called you to do, like we say all the time, God's not going to lead you somewhere to leave you there.
That's good, yeah.
Like, he's not going to take you into the desert just to be like, all right, bye. Like,
see you later.
Even Elijah, bro, like, he was obeying God. He got sent out to the brook, and like he was there for freaking ever during a drought. And God still provided for him. Was it in the way that he was expecting? Probably not, but...
I mean, Moses was out in the desert for 40 years. It took him forever, but did he still lead the people to where they were going? Yeah, he still got there.
It took a while.
Yeah.
But like, it's people stepping out because their attitude is not set on, you know, because it's hard. Because even Moses, you're right, because Moses had times in the desert where he was like, God, this sucks. These people blow. Sure. But he was always set on his mission, and he knew what it is he had to accomplish in the end game.
Yeah. And what's really cool is that at one point he had hit the rock whenever he wasn't supposed to. He was just supposed to speak to it or whatever. And so then God told him because he disobeyed, he wasn't getting into the promised land. And so then at that point he's like, he could have been like, well, then what's the point of me leading all the rest of the people? Like, if I'm not getting in, there's no point in me. He's not getting paid for it. And so whenever he kept going, it was because God called him.
Dang, that was another one of those where I was like, what are you talking about? No, that was good. Like, yeah, God literally told him, like, you're not getting paid for this anymore.
Yeah.
And he continued to do the job. Wow.
I looked over and I was like, is this making sense? And all of a sudden he goes,
no, dang, I must be a little slow or something. That was, woo. I think that was better than last week's. That was a freaking good tie-in, bro. Oh, my. Wow. Well, it makes me wonder. So, and this isn't me hype myself up. And, like, obviously we've got interns hear this now, too. But, like, last summer, before I came on staff officially, well, even before that, like, for years, I had been, like, involved in youth. I was a student leader at the time, whatever that means. And like I was trying to like lead groups, and like I preached every once in a while, just whenever. And then I got presented the opportunity to intern over the summer. And at the time, I was still working, I was still doing school, and then church. You know, so obviously school took a break, so it was summer. But I was still working all weekend. I worked Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Usually a double Saturday, Friday night, and Thursday night.
Wow.
And I'd come right from Thursday night shift right to rehearsal for Sunday morning, wake up, freaking have half a Friday, go to work Friday night, and then double Saturday morning, then go to church, you know?
Yeah, full schedule.
And then I was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like during the week. And it was never, because the job wasn't guaranteed to me. It wasn't like, you know.
You weren't even going to be getting a lot of money for it. Like,
you weren't getting paid anything. Yeah. So
even if you got the job, you wouldn't be paying that. You wouldn't get paid all that much.
Well, yeah. Like, well, I think there's something to say about, you know, these huge churches where people get like paid a lot. Like, I think that's honestly God blessing their obedience.
For sure.
Yeah. Because I think, you know, you can make some money at church. Absolutely. But it's character development, dude.
Yeah,
like,
God puts out this stuff, and He's like, "You give to me, I'll give it right back." Like He's like, "I'll bless you back." But so He's not saying like you're not going to get nothing for it, but He's taking care of you still.
Yeah. But anyways, like we were saying, like people that have come, and like that's why I've got such a big like shtick on our interns, and like how proud I am of them, because they're choosing to set aside their summer.
Yeah.
They're not like Christian's not getting paid for this, bro. And he's here like almost every day, and like he's here doing this podcast with me. It's awesome. But like, they're being obedient to the call, and their attitude is not about, well, what am I going to get out of this? It's how can I further the mission that God has presented to the whole church?
Yeah,
and he
that's good.
Is holding our arms up, like him and Pastor Josh.
That's
like
really good.
He's holding his arms up all the freaking week. Like that's how it works, and that's the attitude, bro. That's the Sigma mindset, baby.
Yes, sir.
That's what's up. But no, that was really good. I think what you said has a lot of power. I think that was really cool. Because, yeah, Moses, if you don't know the story, Moses was in the desert and people were freaking out because they're out of water. So God commands Moses to hit a rock with his staff, and he does. And water comes out. And it's awesome. And, time goes by, and people start freaking out again, like, where's our water? And God tells Moses, don't hit the rock. And Moses does it anyways. What I think is interesting is that water still came out.
Yeah.
Is that
is cool. I never thought
God
about that.
still provided, Because I think, like we said about the hammer can be beat up and not as effective, but it's still a hammer.
That's good.
It's still
cool.
being used. I think you can have a crappy mindset and still be used, because if God needs something to happen, it's going to happen anyways.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be, like you said, Moses' payment went away afterwards.
That's
like his
so
reward at
good.
the end went away.
Yeah.
But again, he continued doing the job, which I think is super cool.
Wow.
It's all about
Look at that.
your brain, dude.
Mindsets are powerful.
It is.
It's crazy how much control you have over yourself just by your mind, whether you think so or not. But that's part of your mindset. That's like whether or not you think that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's
So
crazy.
he goes into like towards the end, he starts talking about that same power you had, where good mindset, really good for you. You're balling.
Yeah.
A bad mindset can be kind of detrimental, because what happens is, you let those thoughts or those ideas or those values or whatever, fill in the blank, those beliefs get past your firewall, right?
Yeah.
And they can build up in your brain.
Your dad was talking about building a stronghold. The devil builds a stronghold.
Exactly.
In your mind. Yeah.
So we had talked about this a while ago, and I'm going to talk about it here again, about, where I think a lot of temptation comes from, a lot of things that we struggle with, whether it's an addiction or like a physical thing, maybe I don't know, we give the example of partying all the time. Maybe you got issue with partying, or maybe you got issue with girls, or maybe you got issue with dudes, or maybe how you see yourself, maybe something you tell yourself, I'm ugly, or I'm anxious, or you're depressed, or you're scared, or whatever. Those are all strongholds, right? Those have been, you've let them in, because like the word says, you're called to take every thought captive, and you have control over it. Is it tough? Yes. Sometimes things get in. Absolutely. We're human. That's how it works. They get in, and sometimes if we don't pay attention to them or not mindful of them, they'll start building these strongholds.
That's good.
And I've mentioned it before a while ago. I haven't talked about it in a while, but I think about Jericho a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story of Jericho where there's walls built around a city, and God has called them to take the city, but there's this giant wall, and everybody's the Israelites are freaking out. What are we supposed to do? So God says, march around the walls of Jericho, and they do it for I think 7 days.
Yeah.
Every day, wake up, march,
a lot of walking.
forever. Yeah, and it's a city, bro. You think of VeggieTales, and it's
Yeah, they
wow.
have the little peas.
Imagine walking around Broken Arrow. Just
that's 2 marathons.
yeah, just walking for days. I don't know how big Jericho was. Maybe it wasn't even that big, but you're just walking. And so the picture I always get is if you have a Jericho built in your brain, let's say your brain is the city.
Yeah.
You've got walls around it. And it's a belief that, let's say you're dealing with, let's say you're dealing with a porn addiction. Here you go. Or let's just go with that. Whatever.
Why not?
Let's talk about it. Yeah. So let's say you're dealing with that, and you keep messing up, or you keep falling back into it, or you go maybe a day or two, and you're you're trying to rebuild it, but then you fall back into it, or maybe a month goes by and you fall back into it. And I think there's a lot of rewards for obeying God's word, because obviously had Moses just said, I'm not going to do that, he would have gotten to go into the promised land, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes these strongholds in our brain, we just keep marching around and marching around and marching around. And I think God may be waiting for us sometimes to just obey him. Because at the end, so they march and march and march and march and march. And at the very end of the story, God tells them to lift up their voices and shout, and the walls would come
With all
down.
the trumpets and all that.
Yeah, which makes zero sense.
Yeah.
I think for us, our strongholds in our brain are there until we lift up our voices, So we keep marching around this thing. Maybe a week goes by and you take another lap. Maybe a day goes by, you take another lap, and you just can't seem. Maybe you're believing for like a relationship or something, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And God is calling you to live a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
but you just can't keep walking around these walls.
Yeah.
Like at one time, you're gonna have to say, "All right, God, I'm gonna do it as you say." Like, I'm called to live a pure life, called to live this way, called to live like this, treat people like this, whatever, honor others. But you just keep circling the addiction. You just keep going around and around and around. And God's saying, just shout, bro. Or like obey what it is I've called you to do.
That's good.
But these strongholds get so built up. It's with anything.
Yeah.
Like,
that's really good.
like
that's really good.
Like maybe you want to like pass it. Oh, I don't even know. Like in high school, maybe you want to pass a test, but you can't because you're partying every weekend. God's like, you're really smart. I'm giving you all this ability. You can get into this college
Your
if you
mind
just
is a powerful tool.
You can get into this college or your dream school if you just study. And you're like, you just keep circling the party scene. Like it just.
Wow, that's good.
These strongholds, bro. They only have as much power as you allow them to have. Because like you're right, your brain is very strong. The mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Yeah.
And if you're being lazy and not up on your mind protection program. That's going to be detrimental. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's going to mess you up. But I think the more you can identify the strongholds before they set up shop, you'll be a lot better off.
That's really good.
And that's me preaching to the choir because I've had my own struggles with all kinds of crap.
Yeah.
And like, I've had those.
And as soon as you said being lazy like that hit me because I'm lazy. Like I've missed out on opportunities just because I haven't done stuff. Like there's been things that I do like just that don't happen just because of me being lazy. And so, for sure.
So wrapping this up, so last week we talked about Samson. We talked about the progression of compromise and how, if you know the story of Samson and Delilah, the more that Delilah came to Samson and said, tell me the source of your strength or whatever.
Yeah.
Each answer that Samson gave got progressively closer to the real answer. And I think this. Because Dad talked about it briefly. I forget what he actually said, like word for word, but he talked about the same kind of thing, about how your mindset or your thoughts play the same kind of role, where the idea starts small, where you could look in your, like, not to get like crazy, like you could look in the mirror one day and be like, ew, I got like a zit, like ew. And then the next day is like, oh my God, I'm breaking out. Next day, oh my God, I'm ugly. Next day, nobody wants me. Next day,
so what if you take that and you flip it and you're like, all right, God, you're walking around this mindset, this addiction, anything like that you're going through, and you're walking around it. And this first day, you're like, whatever, it's there, but you're not paying mind to it. Then the next day, you're like, well, I'm kind of getting tired of this, and so you do it a little bit more. You like continue walking, but you just keep getting more frustrated until you finally give in, and you're like, God, help me out, and then you finally give in, and you let God take over your life.
Yeah, no, that's facts.
Yeah,
it's. Well, we talk about greenhouses all month long, and we talk about what it is we let into our greenhouse, and whatever it is that gets in our environment, it's going to start growing. And if you're not careful, you're going to get weeds in there. It's going to turn into a freaking mess.
Yeah,
those strongholds or whatever start with the freaking parallels are out of this world. A seed, bro, gets planted. It's going to start taking root. If you don't get in there and start taking care of it, it's going to destroy all the good stuff around it.
Ooh. That's good. Wow.
But if you're, oh, man.
This series is crazy.
Dude, it must have been a Holy Spirit thing, bro. For sure. Like what Pastor and what we've been doing in youth have been lining up super well. Like, this whole month has been amazing. So, shout out to Dad. But yeah, the progression of compromise. And you're even right. It can even be a good thing. Like, even the way you tell yourself small things. Maybe you don't even believe it at first. Maybe you wake up in the morning and instead of saying, oh my God, I look ugly, you look in the mirror and you're like, I've been made in the image of God. Small thing.
There you go.
It progresses. Eventually, you're going to start looking at yourself like the
claiming
Sigma male that you are.
Look at that.
Oh. And then instead of focusing on all the things that you can't seem to figure out, you're focused on other people and helping them figure out the promises that you have figured out for yourself. Dang.
He said,
tied
it all in a bow.
Boom. Honestly, mic drop. I won't drop these because they're beautiful and I love these mics. But
just
no. Dang.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was tight. I was tight. And like I said, it's been crazy. It must have been a Holy Spirit thing because Pastor Jeff's been doing an awesome job. If you haven't watched yesterday's sermon especially. Go back and watch it.
Probably the best one of the series.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
on our
really
website.
good.
I'll probably link the website down below. If it's not up there, it'll be up sometime this week. So go check it out because it was really good. This week was really good.
For sure.
And I think he's wrapping it up. This is the last week, this Sunday, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So week 4 will also be the end of his series. And we're also ending.
It's like perfect.
Yeah, we're ending our youth series this Wednesday as well. So if you haven't checked it out on Wednesday, pull up. Doors open at 6:30.
Be there
Starts
or
at
be
7.
square.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna get really deep. I got a little exercise we're gonna do. That I think it's gonna really stretch people, and I'm really excited.
Let's do it.
Yeah, really excited. But other than that, you got anything you wanna add? Anything you wanna say to the people?
You summed it all up. That was really good.
That was fire, bro. I can't even.
really
Oof,
good.
we thank you, Lord, for the inspiration. We take it and we use it.
Sure.
But no, cool. Anyways, well, that was episode 3. Can you believe it's already been 3 weeks? I feel like we do this like every other day at this point.
We'll do it every week.
But these podcasts have been going crazy. I really enjoy this. It's one of my favorite things we do. Like I said, it's nice having you guys on.
It's a new perspective. It's really cool.
Absolutely. And like it's investing in the relationship in a different way.
Yeah.
You know?
Another parallel. There you go.
Honestly, you gotta make a list. But thank you so much, Christian, for being here 2 weeks in a row. Next week, we'll try to get someone new. Here's the predicament. All of our kids volunteer, which is absolutely amazing. But most of them aren't in service because they're volunteering. So next week, maybe we'll have someone new. Maybe we'll have Zoe back. Who knows? But we're going to keep doing this until the wheels fall off because this is a lot of fun. So anyways, peace and out. Name our dinosaurs, bro.
Yes.
They need names. We got the Allosaurus and the Triceratops. The cactus already has a name. His name is Jack. But the other ones need a name. Drop it down. Send us a name. We'll see you guys Wednesday.
Yeah.
This is Christian. I'm Pastor Elijah. We'll see you later. Smash that like button. Or Alaska because Alaska's international.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Whatever. We're going to edit that part out. It was stupid. But anyways, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.